2025 monthly meeting. We're going to do the meeting's call to order. We're going to open with prayer. Enrique, are you here? You're on, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to also welcome you to Faith United Church of Christ. We want to work closely with the community so they can have more space for me. Let's bow our heads. Dear Lord, we want to thank you very much for this day, for all the blessings that you have given us, for allowing us to awaken this morning and to have done the things we were supposed to do today. We ask that your presence be with us during this meeting so we can deliberate, present, and get information that would be useful for the community as we move forward. And we also want to say a special prayer for the graduates, I believe. Not sure how many, but we're going to pray for them so that after the graduation, they're able to continue to go to college and have a great experience. We ask these blessings in your name, sir. Amen.
Okay, we have the roll call of officers.
Good evening, everyone. Our President, Carmen Robert Williams. John Lucio, First Vice President. Anthony Hood, Second Vice President.
Present.
Deborah Whitford, Treasurer.
Present.
Susan Lederer, Sergeant at Arms. Aretha Bullaby, Financial Secretary. Myself, Present. Nakia Dixon, Secretary. Our Chaplain, Pastor Joseph Williams. Excuse me. I also want to make a correction to our May meeting. I had mistakenly omitted his name from roll call, but he was present, so I just wanted to make that correction also. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Madam President. That is the roll call.
Thank you so much. We have a small crowd this evening. Hopefully some more folks are going to be walking in based on what was set out for the agenda. I do have some changes for the agenda. Our guest speaker for this evening was scheduled to be Councilmember Parker. He got called into a budget hearing, so we're adjusting the agenda. And I have moved the scholarship up to the first piece on the agenda, and from there we're going to have from the scholarship we'll have a presentation from the director of DGS, Delano Hunter, will do a presentation. Then we'll have a presentation from EYA on the Providence Hospital. I'm sorry. The second one will be the development for Boys Town, and that will be Vicki Davis. Hi, Vicki. And then last on the agenda will be the development at Providence, and presented by EYA, Evan Goldman. So that's the change on the agenda. So for the meeting protocol, since we are doing this face-to-face, as I always say, please respect our guests. If you have a question, please make sure that you raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged with the question, okay? We don't have a big crowd tonight, but we are on a time constraint, so I'd like to be finished by 9 o'clock, and we have a full agenda. So if you do have questions, I'd like you to limit your question to two questions, in case other folks want to ask questions as well. Okay? So without further ado, we're going to move along to the scholarship. What is a scholar? Scholar is a single term, are individuals who dedicate their time and effort to the pursuit of knowledge and expertise in a particular field of study. They are diligent minds constantly seeking to expand human understanding and contribute to the collective and wisdom of society. Words that aptly describe scholars include inquisitive, meticulous, tenacious, learned, and insightful. scholar tonight. If you could stand. Usa. Tibet. Yusuf. Okay. And Tibet is the scholarship. We do this every year. We've been doing it for over 40 years, giving scholarships to individuals who live within the North Michigan Park community. Some of them come back, they are productive. I know a lot of them come back to give to the community. And I'd like to see you also do the exact same thing. What I'd like you to do is to come up and say a little bit about yourself. But before you do that, the mic went out. But before you, hello, testing?
You get outside. Use your commander's voice. They don't win nothing.
Okay, before you do that, I'd like to introduce the scholarship. Deborah Woodford. Aretha Willoughby. And Shamika's not here. The mic went out. So I guess I'm at the yelling stage. These are the individuals who all would come up. This is the scholarship committee. They will be giving the scholarship to the recipient. We normally do 2 a year, but we only have 1 person to apply for the scholarship this year. It is open to the residents of North Michigan Park for continuing education, first-time college students as well. So we have a first-time college student this year. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Tibet is a graduating senior from DC KIPP Legacy College Preparatory School. She will be going to the University of North Carolina, Greensboro. And on behalf of the North Michigan Park Civic Association, we'd like to present a certificate that reads, for outstanding academic achievement, the North Michigan Park Civic Association recognizes the scholar for outstanding academic achievement and civic engagement.
I attend KIPP Legacy College. I'm 17, and I like to draw, dance, and play sports. I want to major in biology so I can become a veterinarian.
Okay, so next on the agenda, we have Mr. Delano Hunter from DGS, who will do his presentation. I think my work is driving work.
Okay, mic check, mic check. I think I guess. Okay, all right, mic check, mic check. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Delano Hunter, and I'm proud to serve as the Director of the DC Department of General Services, and I am here today to present the the mayor's FY26 budget proposal. I think you all heard from the mayor about a month ago, and at that time, she had not released her FY26 budget proposal. We have it now. She couldn't be with us here this evening, but she asked that I present all of the great things that she has in store and as proposed in her budget. First, I just want to thank President Williams and the members of the North Michigan Park Civic Association. I also want to thank Pastor Williams and the church officials. I see ANCs, I see friends and familiar faces, Mr. Hood, Mr. Thomas, Commissioner Austin, and others. And I just want to thank you all for taking the time to come out this evening. I'm joined by several colleagues from the Department of General Services and the Mayor's Administration, and I want to recognize, if you could just maybe stand and raise your hand, Alan Karnofsky, our Chief of Staff, John Stokes, our Associate Director of External Affairs, Brittany Williams, Senior Operations Analyst for the Assistant City Administrator's Office, and Virgil Monroe, the gentleman with the camera, our Communications Specialist. And of course, I want to recognize your fabulous Ward 5 moker, Ms. Christian Stargill, and Mr. Anthony Black in his absence. He is an advocate. He raised the sliding board attention to my attention personally and said, hey, don't know what's going on with the team, but you got to get this fixed, and we got it fixed within that week. So I want to recognize him in his absence. So I'm going to get started on the budget. I'm really excited about this budget. I consider myself an extended part of the Ward 5 community. In fact, I was born and raised just further down South Dakota Avenue, right on South Dakota and Williamsburg Road. But prior to my stint in government, I served as my Civic Association president, the Gateway Civic Association president, for about 5 years, right? So that has really informed my service in government, and it's kind of grounded my perspective that I like to bring to the job each day. So without further ado, I'm going to get into the budget. And what we have is a presentation here, and I'll give you the link, and we're not able to print out enough copies for tonight, but we do have a one-pager. Have we had an opportunity to distribute it? As I speak, we have a one-pager that is specific to Ward 5 that I'll reference throughout the course of my presentation. And this presentation here, you'll find it on budget.dc.gov, and also we'll ensure that you have copies of it that we'll email out through the Ward 5 Motors and the officials of the Civic Association. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Next slide. All right, so 2024 was a comeback year for DC. We have a lot to be proud of as a city. DC has now had 28 consecutive balanced budgets. Really proud of that. We have the lowest violent crime rate in the last 3 years. We have a ways to go, but we have made progress. I want to acknowledge that. We've had over 26 million visitors from around the country and around the world to view our beautiful capital city. And also we've led the nation in commercial to residential real estate conversions. And I'm really proud that DC has been ranked again as having the best park system in the nation for the 5th consecutive year. And while that's a testament to, and it speaks to some of our federal recreation assets, really it's the local investments that have led the way. So 2024 has been a comeback year for DC. Next slide. So the mayor's growth agenda is all about how do we pave the way for transformational growth to sustain and improve the city that we all call home. So there's sort of 3 guiding principles that will thread every budget proposal. The first question is, does it impact people? Right, so no matter if you've been here for 5 generations or 5 minutes, there are things that are core to us that help us to enjoy this district, right? Safe roads, libraries, recreation centers, school, public safety, education. Those are things that are core. So the mayor, in her budget proposal, she asked the question, how does this keep people and families in DC? The second sort of North Star here, as our speakers start, does it create economic activity to fund city services and programs? You know, I'm old enough to remember when DC was thought of as a recession-proof city because of the presence of the federal government. And what we've seen is that that's not always the case. COVID has taught us that, and the more recent changes in leadership at the national level has also taught us that we aren't necessarily immune, and we can't necessarily depend just on the federal government. And then last but not least, does it attract new businesses and create jobs for DC residents? I think the thought is, with some of the investments in the mayor's proposals, how do we diversify our economy? I think the CFO has projected we'll lose as many as 40,000 federal government jobs. So we have an opportunity to activate vacant land, to be tax generating, to create jobs and economic activities. We have an opportunity to change how we do business as a district to be a more attractive place. Next slide. As a part of our growth agenda, there are several things that the mayor has prioritized. The first is to cut down on red tape and reduce barriers to growth, such as doubling down on business attraction and strategies and incentives. She wants to reform our zoning procedures to streamline reviews and development of projects. The former chair and the current member of the zoning commission, Mr. Hood, knows all about that. The mayor has a vision to reform the rental act or reform TOPA to bring more balance back to our rental market. And the mayor has proposed to repeal Initiative 82 and to establish a tax holiday for residents. Next slide. This growth agenda leans in heavily on entertainment and technology. You'll see these investments such as bringing the Commanders back to the RFK site, transforming Capital One Arena, and investing in technology incubators throughout the district. Next slide. In addition, this budget also supports downtown, including creating funds to host activations during Capital One Arena's construction. The mayor proposes to launch the Gallery Place Cultural District and Chinatown Renewal Initiative. The mayor wants to increase new office conversions by expanding housing in downtown program to include Georgetown and also the Mount Vernon Triangle. And last but not least, the mayor's proposed to develop a gallery square, which will bring greater pedestrian access and activations to the 7th and 8th Street areas in downtown. Of course, we want to continue to invest in our schools. The mayor has proposed $2 billion for 30 school modernizations. I'm really excited about the $148 million that is proposed in small capital investments. We're talking about HVAC, we're talking about window replacements, athletic fields. That's the bread and butter. Just a point of personal privilege as the director of the Department of General Services. It's not always easy to make those investments in things you can't cut ribbons on, right? But they needed to keep our inventory in good working order. We have over $20 billion real estate portfolio, and we need these small capital investments to keep it in good working order so we meet your expectations. Another highlight of the education budget is $3 million that is proposed to continue high-impact tutoring, which was very crucial in helping to navigate learning loss in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, safety is paramount. This budget proposal increases MPD's funding by $30 million to recruit more officers, to create a new horse-mounted union and purchase crime-fighting technology and equipment, and also $1.3 million is proposed to raise salaries for 911 and 311 call takers. All right, investing in the Clean DC, I'm really excited about the $22.3 million to purchase new DPW heavy equipment, as well as medium and light duty equipment. And also, I'm not sure, just by show of hands, is anyone a part of like the composting pilot? It's one of my favorite programs. I am a part. The whole family is involved in the composting program, and this budget proposes $2.3 million to expand that composting program to 12,000 households. I was fortunate enough to be a part of the pilot. We love it, and I think you love it as well. So can't wait for more residents to be able to participate. And then also, speaking of DPW, my sister agency, $4.6 million is proposed to support the hiring of staff, 80 DPW staff, to help keep our corridors clean. All right, moving right along, just a few more slides. This budget invests in housing and economic development. It restores the Housing Production Trust Fund to $100 million. There's $20 million for continued Hill East infrastructure. When you think of Hill East, with the area near the old DC General Hospital, the DC jail, there is new housing and new economic development activity that is proposed, and it's just adjacent to the RFK parcel. So there's $20 million to build the infrastructure, the roads and sewer systems and things that are necessary to support that development. We're really proud to lead that as an agency. And then there's $202 million to invest in infrastructure at the RFK campus. All right, last but not least, there's a proposal to invest in recreation. What I'm really excited about when it comes to reactivation of the RFK site, I think we all was about 190 acres. Right, the stadium would only sit on about 15, 16 acres. Right, so that leaves close to 160 acres for other development opportunity, from housing to retail. And I'm really excited about the 30% that has to be reserved for recreation. So the mayor's proposed a new destination sports complex. You know, think of the St. James, think of the sports learning complex, somewhere between those two, so that our kids and our seniors have the amenities necessary to recreate here in the district. So no more will our kids have to travel out to tournaments. We'll be able to host some of those athletic tournaments here. And it's really important because we'll take the strain off of neighborhoods that have to host big game days and big tournaments. So really excited about the recreation investments. So last slide, last but not least, if you're interested in this presentation and more information, I ask that you log on to budget.dc.gov. Also, we are in the midst of budget oversight hearings. I think Councilman Park is at one now. They're continuous over the next 2 to 3 weeks. The Department of General Services budget oversight hearing is on Thursday, June 12th. So if you feel so inclined, come out and testify. And that includes my budget presentation. What I'd like to do, if you have just any thoughts, any questions specific to the budget, if you have anything you think is important for the mayor to know, I'm more than happy to receive that. If you have questions that are specific to the Department of General Services, my colleagues will stay around until the end. So if it's like a DGS specific issue, we'll take those at the end. If you have budget insights and budget questions and comments for the mayor and her executive leadership team, I'm happy to take those now. Okay, I think I saw this gentleman's hand raised first.
Yes, sir. My name is Charles White. I'm a 75-year-old disabled Vietnam veteran. Now, in the proposals this year, I sat in a meeting just yesterday with Councilman Parker about the budget at the library. Here today, as I asked him yesterday, you have nothing in there for senior citizens. Not one thing. You have nothing to say how you're going to benefit in this, and knowing that we're going to have some shortfalls, there is nothing there. And I'll share this with you, what I seen in the budget when you referred to the stadium. If you go to the stadium and follow East Capitol Street, just over the hill, you're in 1950. I grew up there. Gentrification has forgot that community. They had prime land there that Middleton, the councilman, he's in charge. All the vacant lots in DC. When I showed it to him, he felt embarrassed. That has been that way for over 30 years. The individuals do not have a supermarket, a pharmacy, nothing. Matter of fact, near the vacant lot, there's a senior citizen building. No place to buy food, no place to go. Thank you.
Thank you for that answer. I think this lady here, I think has a question.
Good evening, my name is Ashanti Yusuf, and I actually am a small business owner. And I wanted to know if there's any budget set aside for small businesses to take part in those projects that y'all have, and if there's a percentage.
They are. One of the things that I'm really excited about that I've heard from businesses, because we engage a number of vendors, is just the red tape, and not just to do business in the district. It can be a lot, even for government agencies. There are a number of measures to cut red tape as it relates to permitting, business licenses, etc. And we can get you some more detailed information about small business.
Any other questions?
Good evening, my name is Commissioner Austin, and I just want to say that you did a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much, sir, for taking your time to come out here and talk to us about this matter. And to send a message back to our First Lady that we love her, and I think that her budget is excellent. Anything we can do for her at 5808, please let Commissioner Austin know. Thank you.
Any additional questions?
I think
My name's Oscar Rooney. I'm a neighbor and a parent. And in terms of, I heard you talk about some of the budget that's going into the infrastructure for school, and I'm wondering what kind of support you're going to give to the teachers at the schools, particularly the immigrant teachers, and particularly teachers that need green card sponsorship.
I'm not certain. That's not within my wheelhouse. I'm happy to follow up with you, and we can get that information for you specifically.
Okay. Can you also address the repeal of the Sanctuary Values Act?
I think the mayor's position is that DC is a welcoming city. We embrace our diversity. It's a part of our strength as a city, but there's no legal definition of what it means to be a sanctuary city. If you look at many of our neighboring jurisdictions, they all have communicated along the same lines. There's no legal definition of what it means to be a sanctuary city. And I think that the mayor is balancing the need to comply with federal law while also creating a safe environment where people feel comfortable sending their kids to school, they feel comfortable calling 911 for help. It's a tight road that she's walking, and I think she's trying to strike the right balance here.
I think there was a lot of pride in creating a sanctuary city in DC, and it's a real shame that that seems to be being repealed. I think it puts our kids in harm, it puts our immigrants in harm, it puts our families at risk. And I would like to see that repeal get shut down.
I'll share that with her. Thank you.
question here.
Thank you. My question is there any opportunity in the budget to raise the threshold so that more senior citizens can take advantage of the senior homestead credit?
I'll inquire.
So he'll inquire.
He'll inquire.
He'll inquire.
He'll inquire.
Oh, he'll inquire.
Yes,
Thank you.
and we'll get back with you.
I think we have two questions. Left hand side.
Question, maybe not related to the budget. I look at all the housing that's going up into the city. And all the housing going up, what is the occupancy rate? We're taking down the trees in the city, the beauty, to cut down hurricanes and help. But all these housing, over their space, the housing is going up. What is the occupancy rate of all of these buildings that's going up?
So many of them, it depends on the type of like housing development. There are some like I'm thinking of Ward 5 projects, like specifically what's happening at McMillan. There is an affordable housing component as a part of that project that is as a result of the city's investment in bringing that project to life. So many of the mayor's investment in housing, if you look at the Housing Production Trust Fund and restoring that to $100 million, that is helping to develop and deliver more housing in the district. And there are a number of projects that not for those incentives, but likely those projects would not proceed. So I think the mayor's vision is that we can grow smartly. There is an opportunity for dense development in certain areas without impacting the quality of life for residents.
I just wondering what the occupancy rate is. See all the homeless people on the street, no place to live, but can they afford to live? And what are we doing with the occupancy rate? All these buildings going up. I just can't see where they are occupied. I would just like to know the occupancy rate of every office piece of ground in this building is going up.
So are you referring to the occupancy rate for all
Well, each
homes?
building, see what it is, to see what the occupancy rate is. Every time there's a free piece of land, there's a house, apartment there going on. And it's just crowded, and you said the streets and things are crowded, put in bike lanes and stuff. It's just what these buildings are occupied.
name is Keith Sellers of ANC 501. My question is, I've spoken to a lot of residents, and you touched on the federal government's shrinking in the government, DC. My question is for DOES, Department of Employment Services. You have a lot of seasoned people when they're late in their careers. What I've been told is that the services that DOES provides is really for more entry-level people, or people returning citizens and so forth. There's not really space for DOES to focus on those folks late in their careers to re-enter the job market. And what's in the budget for that? So, sort of along the lines of senior citizens, but before people retire. If you have a decrease in the government of 40,000 people, you have both federal employees as well as consultants who live in the district who don't have those opportunities. And some of them are very frustrated in the services that the city's offering. And how will the city address that? That coupled with, but that's one question.
Sure. So I'm happy, Mr. Sellers, to relay those insights to the mayor. I do know that one of the things that I think the city has an opportunity to look at that senior citizens employment program. I think that there's a different type of senior here in the district that is still working, still in the work market, still in the job market, and they have skills. One of the things that this budget proposes is some, they want to be entrepreneurs. This helps to cut the red tape for entrepreneurship. And also, as we talk about diversifying our economy, like it won't happen overnight, right? But as we think of the types of jobs that would be, the opportunity that district residents will compete for, if you have an RFK, right? It's more than just, of course, the stadium. You know this from economic activity to restaurants to hotels, there are facilities jobs, there are real estate jobs. I'll share my experience at the Department of General Services. We're in a hiring freeze now. I've been so encouraged by the experience that we are, the type of candidates that we're receiving from USAID, outstanding candidates. USAID, pound for pound, some of the most talented and smartest folks that we have in this district. We won't be able to hire them all, but there will be opportunities, and we think it won't happen overnight, but we have to diversify our economy. So it's not an overnight thing, but we have to diversify our economy now so that we aren't thought of to be just overly reliant on the federal government.
I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you, but the issue is for people who are exiting the federal government, whether they're federal employees or consultants, they need work and jobs in the next 6 to 12 months. And what the residents that I represent are saying, that there's a disconnect between the work that DOES is doing and their needs. And so I just want to convey that there needs to be an emphasis on training, retraining, repositioning people so they can apply. You just mentioned for your agency, and I applaud you, that's great. But if I need a job or someone needs a job next month, they can't wait to be an entrepreneur if they don't have the resources.
That's right. Still, the largest industries in the district, feds, eds, and meds. Right? We are seeing some movement of folks transitioning to the eds and the meds. I think those will continue to be opportunities. What I've done, I've been impacted, as we all have been impacted by likely someone that worked for the federal government that's no longer working. There are still programs in DC outside of DOES that they can tap into. The University of the District of Columbia has excellent programs that are low cost and free for district residents. If there's an opportunity maybe for an applicant to add to their skill set, those are great opportunities there. There are a number of other agencies in the workforce development space from coding and others as well that I think it may not be right for everyone, but I do think that there are good options, and we have responsibility as elected officials and as public officials to share what's available, while also increasing the tools we have in our kit. But I hear you, Commissioner Sellers, and I relay this information to Dr. D. Morris Hughes and also the mayor.
Thank you.
I'm kind of piggyback on what he was hitting when when we talk about individuals who being discharged from the federal government. And some of these individuals are at that limit within 3, 4, 5 years from retirement. And usually after 12, up to 14, you're talking about, when you get about 12, 14 in grade, you're talking about $120,000, $140,000 a year. I don't think DC government pays that for that elderly senior citizen to come into the government at that age, knowing they possibly going to retire, and they put them in that spot just at that time. Something needs to be put in place that will probably try to compensate these people in a way for losing their jobs and trying to get a new one. You can't train an old dog new tricks at 55 or 60 years old. They too is worried about trying to retire and get out of there. But this is not happening. And I can't blame DC government, but I can't blame the federal government for what they're doing to these individuals here in America. Thank you.
I hear you. I wish I could tell you there was like an abundance of $140,000 to $150,000 jobs. There just aren't. You know, there just aren't. And I think too, and this is me speaking personally, I just think that, and I've seen it, I'm very sensitive to that. I think the way to go, again, I don't want to, give up on today or tomorrow, but we got to prepare for the future. All right, and we have to diversify our concepts. So 20 years from now, 10 years from now, we are in this position. I mean, I'm optimistic, and again, it's me speaking, that those cuts have stopped. I'm optimistic that a lot of this will be repealed in the years ahead. Of course, I don't know that. That's my hope. And, it's going to be a difficult period, just to be honest with you. And there are no bad hit, but we got to prepare for tomorrow by making those investments and diversify our economy.
Thank you, Director Hunter. I just have one question. Sure. Tell me about your department, what you're responsible for.
Sure, thanks for asking. So we are the Department of General Services, and also the tagline, we build, maintain, and sustain the District of Columbia's real estate portfolio. So we are responsible for construction of schools, of recreation centers, our municipal buildings, our fire stations, police stations, and we're responsible for maintaining those. What do we mean? I think you think of facility maintenance. We also manage the district's utilities budget, water, gas, electricity. We're responsible for security. We're responsible for a number of sustainability initiatives. We lease on behalf of the district. We have a growing inventory, seems to grow by the day. And again, I'm really excited about not just the capital investments, but those small capital investments. And the mayor's investing in work order reduction, which is an area for growth for us. The mayor's investing in preventative maintenance, which again, these aren't very appealing things because you can't cut a ribbon on, changing the air filter and an air conditioner, but it goes a long way in ensuring that our facilities can meet your expectations. I always like to say, when we do our job at a high level, it's easier for educators to focus on education, it's easy for recreators to focus on recreation, it's easy for the work of government to proceed. So I'm really proud of the work that we do.
Thank you so much. We have time for one more question before we move on. So we'll let Bill ask that question.
Do you have anything to do with the parks? I'm curious. Do parks?
We do.
There's a park, we have a brand new park, South Dakota and Rachel Road. Would it be you who could have some influence as far as protecting that park? Because I hadn't noticed it until it came up recently, and there's a lot of community concern about that area where it's beautiful. And like I'm going to have a picnic up there this weekend, and I think we have all kinds of good things up there. But I heard they want to destroy it with bike paths and all kinds of things. My suggestion, nothing with wheels but a baby carriage should be at that corner of South Dakota and Riggs. It's an oasis in this community with all these mushrooms popping all around these buildings. So if you can, protect that park for us. You have to go and look at it. It's beautiful. Tree canopy, the temperature drops 10 degrees under there. Reminds me of Fort DuPont, where they have the concerts. Well, at least I don't know if it's good enough. But protect that. South Dakota, Riggs, nothing, no pipe, no bicycle paths through there at all. Nothing but a baby carriage to be able to run through there. Thank you.
Okay, I think you're referring to the proposed park of Riggs in South Dakota across from the Chick-fil-A. I think it was just a community meeting maybe last week on it. I think we're into the design, but happy to share those insights. So it sounds like you're in favor of a more natural park. Okay. Okay. Yes, sir.
Similar piggyback. Sure. The unintended consequences of Doge with the national park land, which is part of about 30% of the district. There's a huge issue with maintaining the parks throughout the entire city. Is money in the budget from the city to do the basic maintenance? As I was driving today from east to west, the string of parks, the federal parks, mostly are uncut and the grass is 2 or 3 feet tall. I know that's not your purview, your DGS, but as a city and protecting the beautification of the city and just well-being of the city, is there any money in next year's budget for that that's from the federal government of $1 billion?
I would say indirectly, right? So in terms of like basic maintenance that you're referring to, I think we've had some conversations before. Like, no, there's no line item for DGS and DPW to assume like mowing and trash pickup. However, we have a model that has proven successful that we are expanding. Franklin Park, if you all are familiar with Franklin Park, between 13th and 14th and K Street, that was a federal park, I think nearly 15 acres in disrepair. We were able to revitalize it. Now it's like an anchor of downtown activity. The mayor has is proposing to expand that model. Really proud of, well, I'm really excited, maybe is the word, to build an outdoor Olympic-sized destination pool at Carter Barron or the Brightwood Recreation Area. That is a federal government parcel as well. We have to enter into a cooperative management agreement. And Commissioner Sellers, there are a number of projects where we are entering into agreements in order to activate park service. A lot of them are smaller parcels, like if any of you are familiar with the Francis Stevens Education Campus, there's a field and tennis courts that are being transferred over. So it's happened piecemeal. I don't think there's the ability at this point to expand and do like, a large percentage of it. I think you'll continue to see parcel by parcel cooperative management agreements between the National Park Service and the district.
I'm not asking for a program. I'm just asking for just basic grass cutting.
Even that. And I empathize with our partners in the Park Service. We're in regular communication with them. There are times when we service some of their sites to cut grass when we have to kind of help them out. Many times when they're in between contracts, and I wish I could tell you that we could expand that at scale, but we have my hands full with 1,000 parks we have.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you all. We'll be around. We'll stay to the end. Thank you all.
Okay, next up is we have Vicki Davis from Urban America, is it?
Urban Atlantic.
Urban Atlantic, who is going to talk about the development at Boys Town.
Thank you so much.
We give you a few minutes to go through your stuff.
I'm in the disaster with the easels and I'm trying to walk, but most challenging. So one's got a short leg, one's got a short arm. I'm just not even sure what to say about that. But we'll do our best.
That's a license about check. Change is good for us.
I'm sorry, I'll tell them about it.
Not a problem.
I also would like to introduce a person who needs no introduction. It's our Commissioner Thomas, and I think maybe you'd like to say a few words first, and then we can go from there.
Okay, the development is at 5802. It's in North Michigan Park, but it's in 5802, which Mr. Thomas is the agency commissioner.
Thank you. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you.
Good evening.
My name is Timothy Thomas, and I'm the agency commissioner for 5802. And this project happens to fall in my single-member district. Boys Town is a institution that's been on Sergeant Road for quite some time. I remember they built the first homes there, and they did not get the kids. All the time they were not able to get the kids. They had built another place on Potomac Avenue and Pennsylvania Avenue, on Capitol, a brand new building, and it never moved in. They never got the kid. Subsequently, they tore that building down. So here we are here. Boys Town's been closed since late November. No one's at the facility. The facility's closed down. And they're out of Omaha, Nebraska, and they have decided to discontinue operation here in the District of Columbia. And with that said, they sold the property. Urban Atlantic has bought the property and they located agencies, let them know. This project is it's a matter of rights. They'll be building homes there. I think it's like 170 homes, is that correct? Correct. There. And it's, this will be, we will talk to the neighbors in a 200-foot radius. We'll be having a meeting this month with them, let them know about this project, any questions they want to ask. She's going to do most of the project today, but it is what it is. They moved out, they sold the place, just like you would sell your house. They stepped forward, they bought it. Some things are going to happen there, which will be very useful to that community. As you notice, a hill there, and with that hill, it brings water. Water's running all over the place up there. You don't see it because it just drive by. So they're going to have to address that before they even start to build. So, without further ado, I'm going to leave it over with you, and you're going to let them know what's happening on Sergeant Road. Okay.
Good evening, everybody.
Good
It's a
evening.
great honor to be here with you. Yes, good evening. I agreed to come here as of 2:30 this afternoon, so I apologize for the roughness of this presentation. My name is Vicki Davis. I am one of the founders of Urban Atlantic. We are probably best known in this city for the development of the parks at Walter Reed. We also have developed in Ward 5 the metro station at the Rhode Island Avenue metro station. We make it a practice to come to our communities early and often, because we want to know the things that you know that we couldn't possibly know, so that we can take your input into consideration. And I'm delighted to see young people here, because your input matters for the next generation as well. Our Commissioner Thomas has been very kind. We have gone preliminarily to the ANC for an early introduction. I want to tell you about this property a little bit. It's 12 acres. And anything in DC that's over 5 acres, if you want to develop anything on it, has to go through something called large tract review. And they ask you to talk to your neighbors, which makes sense. We do this at all of our developments. We've done 33 projects at Walter Reed. We talk to our neighbors every single time and get the input that we need. This development is a very precious resource in your community. It is 12 acres. It has a central building on it. It has like a 1970s administration building on it. And then it has 6 homes that were built for, in essence, a replacement mom and dad to raise between 5 and 6 boys who might have been homeless in each. Boys Town, if you have not seen the movie from the 1930s, you should. It's available on YouTube. Father Flanagan started Boys Town. He was part of the Catholic Church in Omaha, Nebraska, probably one of the most segregated areas in this country, and well segregated and racially segregated. And in the 30s, he started homes for homeless boys. And he was so unwelcome in Omaha, downtown, that he convinced a bunch of stakeholders to buy 2,000 acres outside of Omaha. And he created a self-governing town called Boys Town. That's where the name comes from. And he created education and training and self-governance for people with very difficult backgrounds, all of them boys. He has been nominated for sainthood. It's in process now in Omaha. Once this area in Omaha thrived, they replicated the model in the United States and then across the world. It relied on government funding, and there's lots of different programs to help people in need, and they did not receive the funding they needed to continue on this site. And that's the reason that they sold it. We have this site under contract. I want to tell you a little bit about your own neighborhood. I want to tell you first where the site is. This right here is South Dakota Avenue. We're very close to the site right now. This is Sargent Road, somewhat smaller than South Dakota Avenue. This looks like two big mounds in the front with a driveway in the middle that's behind a lock gate. And it's got a fence across the side, and it's got a fence all the way around it. How did that happen? So first of all, this started out as a nunnery with a home for special needs girls to be educated. And when that ran its course, that started in 1928, but when it ran its course, in the late 80s, it was sold to the people of Boys Town, and the nuns retired to a Midwestern state. So it's always had a kind of a nice use. It was a farm before that. When the Fort Totten Metro was built, and some people in this audience might have already lived in this community when that happened, they dug out a lot of dirt for the train. And one of the fathers who operated Boys Town saw an opportunity to enhance their economics. And he took on over 20,000 cubic yards of dirt that was taken out of the metro station. And when I see it, it looks to me like two inverted loaves of banana bread that are basically these big mounds in front. They're 20 feet high each, and when rain comes down and it hits a mound, it goes this way and it goes this way. It no longer goes straight into the ground. And the stormwater wasn't really put in to address that. So some of our neighbors, particularly to the north on Delafield, which is near the Michigan Park Recreation Center, suffer some flooding. So does the church on the corner. I want to tell you about our neighbors. This right here is St. Anselm's Abbey School. They have an abbey and they have a school. So I've spoken with the headmaster there and talked to him about this development. They're doing a small development of their own right now where they're adding a library to the school. This is Michigan Park Recreation Center. It's got a lovely playground and it's got a lovely picnic area with mowed grass underneath the trees. So it's really quite nice in the recreation center itself. This site today has on it what I talked to you about earlier, but it has one main entry road right here. We're going to maintain that as the entry to the site. That is our proposal. I want to tell you a little bit about process. To go to large tract review, you talk to the Office of Planning, and you submit your plan to them and a traffic study and what you want to build. And then they send it out to all of the other agencies, and they all have input. And they also send notification to all of the neighbors within 200 feet. They are all within Commissioner Thomas's SMD, single member district, A and C, 5A02. So we will be sending notifications to people around here through the Office of Planning. That's how it's done. But we'll also put out flyers because it's really important to catch people in real time and get their input. We are planning to do development consistent with the zoning on this property today. We talked about coming in a PUD and coming in with townhouses and increasing the density, and we decided that it's more appropriate in the context of the neighborhood to go with the existing zoning that governs all of the homes around the site, which is R2 zoning. And here's what it allows. It allows 3-story buildings up to 40 feet in height. It requires a backyard of 20 feet. It can be under a road that's, if your driveway is back there, but it's 20 feet as a backyard. It allows product type that is either a single family home, that's 1 unit on its own piece of ground, or duplexes, which is twin homes. And if you look at our community, you have to have really good eyesight to see this. But there's duplexes here, and then there are some triplexes, which are 3 homes together, one in the middle, won't show you that, but 3 homes. And there's no triplexes allowed here. The minimum lot size is 2,500 square feet. The minimum side yard is 8 feet. My wingspan is 6. So if you add 2 to that, times 2, it's the distance between homes. All of the houses planned here are duplexes. All of the houses planned here are 3 stories. All of the houses planned here are built to high energy codes and built by a national home builder. We are planning 170 homes, of which 10% will be set aside for inclusionary zoning. What does that mean? It means that they're available for sale to people earning 80% of median or less. What does that mean? That basically means people earning under 120,000. The area median is 164, just so that you know. So roughly 120,000. And the homes will be sold at reduced prices under the IZ program. Every one of these homes, and I'm going to come to, and I wanted to show you consistency with the neighborhood. You'll note that the existing lots in the neighborhood are longer and thinner. And they have smaller homes on them than what we're proposing here. These homes are, on average, over 2,000 square feet. They are 3 and 4 bedroom homes. I'm going to take this down and say, well, I don't know if you can see this or not. Can everybody see the bottom of this or not so much? And if you can't see, you can come closer, and that would be fine. And I'll stay if you want to see these in more detail. This is the entry road to the property. This is the original building that the nuns lived in. It's 8,000 square feet. We're going to keep it. So, we think it's beautiful. We think this main entry drive is beautiful. It has an alley of trees on either side. It's very pretty. We are going to get rid of the mound of dirt there, and we're going to get rid of the mound of dirt there. Where is it going to go? It's probably going to go out to Andrews Air Force Base in Prince George's County. Probably. But it's important for us to have stormwater management on site that meets the highest requirements of the city. They talk about it, a city talks about it in the terms of a green area ratio. And the green area ratio required with the existing zoning is the highest category. We have the same requirement at Walter Reed. It's a 0.4 green area ratio, which means nothing to most people. But what it should mean is that your 100-year stormwater does not flow into your streams and creates flooding. So it's retained on site. We have circulation through the site in private drives. This is not on the public dime, none of it. None of it is public roads, none of it is a public maintenance road, but it is an enormous economic development to the city. It is rare to see duplexes developed today. Not unheard of, but rare. Most product in the city that we develop and others develop are townhouses, which is probably double as dense as this because they don't have the side yards and they don't have very big yards around them in general. So these houses have two general configurations. One is these brown colored ones and the other is the blue. The blue ones have the garage on the front, next to the front entry door. That's very similar to the ones on the cul-de-sac just south of Boys Town. The other ones have the garage on the back, with the front door here. And what we've done is place them around the more ceremonial areas. And we like these in particular because they yield the most green space. This site has over 40% green space. We talked to Office of Planning and they said they hadn't seen one like this in a very long time. So I think it's important for you to know that. So I think it's a little bit challenging for people who do not read plans every single day to understand site plans. And I will do more work on this with my team, but I wanted to show you examples of what the houses might look like. And I know these are black and white, and so they can't see colors on them, but you can see what they look like. So the first thing is, while it's the simpler house on the inside, the outside has a lot of variety, so it's not boring. They have different shapes. Typically, the one right next to the other one is going to be the same. But it will change every set of duplexes. You have a garage that on this one is a rear entry garage, so that's the back. You have a rec room on the front and a front door entry. You have the opportunity of a powder room on the first floor. You have on the next level up a great room, a kitchen, a dining room, and an outdoor inset patio, sometimes with a little fireplace in it. So that's a possibility. On the next level up, you have a master's suite, an owner's suite here. You have a bedroom, and then you have a bathroom and a bathroom. So 1, 2, 3 potential bathrooms. It's 2 to 3 bathrooms, 2 to 3.5 because there's a powder room as well. And then 3 to 4 bedrooms. That's what the houses look like. That's what we're planning. And I'm going to stop talking and listen to you if that's all right. Thank you very much.
Anthony, will you get through that? Anthony walked up with the assignment. Okay, it's okay. We use this one for the time being. Did Anthony leave the mic in the back? Okay, I have a question. I have a couple questions before we move on to the ordinance. On your first slide, if you could put the first one up. I'm sorry, not the first one, the second. I see there's only one way in and one way out for 177 homes. It's never looked at.
I think we're gonna see if it's a little congested. I don't think it will be. We're going to do the traffic studies. They've already been out counting the traffic on the intersections closest to this, and they're gonna run it through their model in the next 2 weeks, and we'll know what we need. But I suspect that one way in and out is enough.
Evan can attest to this. When I asked for the other street up the St. Joseph's, if there's a fire in here, where do your residents go?
So, if you're asking about an area of refuge,
They can't get out. You only got one way in, one way out.
Well-
You got a block for your main street. Is there a possibility that we can have another egress out of this?
so the only stretch where there's just one location is this 80 feet underneath of my finger. That's it. That's the only place, because you can come this way, you can come this way, you can come this way, this way, this way. Those are all two-way streets. So if you're anywhere in here and there's a problem, you can come this way, and come out of the site.
But they can't get out into the main street, it's the only street. So.
Unless this is
rush
blocked.
out in the morning, rush out in the morning. You've got folks, these, folks buying houses now, they're typically working class folks, they're trying to get out in the morning. This is a major thoroughfare, I mean, it's busy thoroughfare. Again, if there's a fire in here, these folks can't get out. We had this issue when they had the construction over on 6th Street. They had a fire with the food bank. Those folks at the top of the hill were stuck because they had all the fire apparatuses up and nobody could get out.
I hear you, and I thank you for raising it. We're going to talk with our transportation guys about it, and we will address it.
That's my question. Question from the audience.
The price range, the cost.
Price range.
I think that the price range is not determined yet, but if I were guessing, based on my experience at Walter Reed, it would probably range from high 800s to the low 1 millions.
Question?
There's a question. Oh, Commissioner Sellers.
Evening. What's the architectural style of the duplexes, and what percentage of it is brick versus ephes or tri-level?
We have not determined the style at this point. There are models that exist with stone and siding that you see here. There are ones that exist with brick and siding that you see here. So my intuition is that there will be a fair bit of brick on the fronts and siding on the back. And on the sides, I would think, given that they're 16 feet apart, which is, I don't know, maybe it's a half the distance of this room. More or less. It'll probably be siding on the side, so I would expect brick on the fronts or stone, potentially.
So any drive-in or ephes?
Probably not. I think a more preferred product is one that's a little bit more sustainable than those. Drive-in and ephes is an extruded foam product with stucco on top, just so you know. It's more traditional to use hardy plank or board or shingles.
And will all the roofs be flat?
No, they will not be flat. They are pitched roofs, and the entire distance from ground floor to top of roof is less than 40 feet.
So there will be opportunity for solar panels on top of them?
Yes, absolutely. And for those of you who do not know this, DC in the United States is the best location for solar. We have more than 2 megs of rooftop solar on our buildings, including townhouses, including multifamily buildings. But if you are homeowners, or even if you are renters, it's very important for you to consider that. One, because it's great for the city, and please don't forget about battery backup, because there are huge programs in DC. You can make money on that, I'm telling you. And so you really should take advantage.
Okay, we've got some questions here. I have one. What is the community benefit for it? I know that you are in ANC 5802, but you are in the North Michigan Park community. So we're looking for a community benefit for the community.
So I would have said a couple of things. And I'm really sorry for turning my backside to you. But all the areas that you see that are white are actually green, which is really important to your community to preserve green areas. All of the sidewalks that you see in this yellowish color, I don't know, beige, those are sidewalks. It's a very pedestrian-friendly community. There is over 1 mile of sidewalks inside of here. I have been on the property in the last year and seen people running along the rim of St. Anselm's. And I think it's a very good opportunity for exercise for the community. I think it's highly likely that we will build a small-scale playground on the site that will be available for public use.
Is there anything else in the community benefit other than the playground and the track?
No, it's a low-density residential development that's there.
Hi, my name is Yushana. I have 2 questions. One is probably more so for Commissioner Thomas. So when you submit the large tract review application, I know the ANC receives notification, and I think it would be useful if the ANC could send that out to the community or put it on the website maybe so that it's available for us to see, as well as their traffic study. And speaking of the traffic study, does that mean that you all have decided what you're doing with that 8,000 square foot building? So how are you going to do the traffic study without knowing what you're doing with that building?
We have assumed the worst case for the 8,000 square foot building. So people might say, what could this 8,000 square foot building be? It could be, this lady's raised her hand many times, but what could it be? That's a question for you. That's not a rhetorical question. That's a question for you. Because we have some thoughts, but I'd love to hear what your thoughts are.
Oh, my thoughts are that it would be great for a daycare.
Me too.
Yeah, I think it would be wonderful for a daycare. And I'd like to, when you go back to the drawing board, locate the fire hydrants, because this is a really close-knit community, and we need to make sure we have fire hydrants, all throughout, so that if anything happens, we hope it doesn't. One other thing, this is our wonderful church here, and we know that you're going to be using concrete, and you have extra concrete. So if you have any extra concrete that you don't want to throw away, could you do something with our front and help us build the steps with the concrete? You think about that? That could be like a community benefit.
We can think about that.
Thank you so much.
I like the idea of a daycare. Thank you, Commissioner. I'd just like to say this. We've built a number of daycares in DC. We have, and I really like them a lot. I think it's really good for our kids. We usually have somebody who rents them out for us or buys them from us or something like that. Could be a health facility, could be office, could be a faith-based facility. I don't know, literally, I don't know, except for I know that we're keeping it.
I'm interested in working with you.
I didn't hear you.
I will be interested in working with you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much.
Yes, good evening. Two things. One, 100 and how many buildings?
170, and there would have been 205
That's
possible.
too much.
I hear you. There would have been 205 possible, and we're at 107.
And 10%, 10 or 15 are for low income.
17 for workforce inclusionary zoning.
Mhm. And you also made a comment that in our community, you live in the neighborhood?
It's,
Again,
I do not live in your community.
Okay, I just want to.
And I feel like I started out by saying it's important to come and listen to you, to get your perspective from your community. And if you didn't hear that from me, please hear it from me now. We understand that we're coming to your community and are listening to you.
Couple quick ones.
Yes, sir.
The homes, the buildings that are there now, are you gonna tear those down and turn them recycle? Because that's a beautiful building.
There are some beautiful buildings there. And yes, we are planning to tear down the homes in the back. And there's very little use for a home with 8 bedrooms. Like, it's a very, very difficult thing. And they are beautiful, but they are functionally obsolete.
Now, the homes, are they gonna be prefab or what?
They're not going to be prefab. They have a panelization where a wall with the studs in the wall will come and erect the wall. And the plans are well engineered because it's a relatively standard product, so it can be produced at a lower price point than a custom home.
Energy efficient, is that?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Now, what are the prices of the homes? Based on square footage?
The square footage is over 2,000 square feet. The square footage is over 2,000 square feet. And I think that the homes will range from the high 800s to the low millions. The high $800,000. I apologize for that. The high 800,000s to the low millions. It's a good question.
Now, you do know that's not considered affordable housing.
I do know that, actually, because we produce, and I know you're a veteran, because we produce a lot of veterans housing as well, but I do know that that's not affordable. And that's why I said it's inclusionary zoning intended for 80% of median, which in this city median is $164,000. And so 80% is less than 120. So that's what they target. And those houses, those 17 houses are probably in a sales price of $400,000.
Well, how are you gonna do construction for coming in and out?
How do you enter and exit for construction? Yes. We will use the main road, and we may have an additional access road on the side during construction.
I have one more question.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I have to piggyback on what Carmen said earlier about only one kid coming in and only one right coming out. And it's just not quite sitting well with me. You said 170 homes. One way going in, and you said you wanted a traffic study or something like that. So I'm thinking about Fort Lincoln. When we first decided to build a hospital and all that up there. And the people who lived in there said, they told them, well, you only have a little bit of traffic coming through there. And that isn't the case. It's a whole lot of traffic. And I'm thinking about the one way going into these homes. And I'm thinking a fire has to breathe. There's only one way out. That isn't safe. And it goes back, the people that sit here making these plans, did they think about if it was them living in their community? Wouldn't they want another way in and out?
I did agree earlier that we would review it,
I'm
so
struggling with that, because that is a big safety hazard. I live in there. I don't want to know if it's only one way in and out. I need breathing room. I need another way in and out, too.
I 100% appreciate your comments, and I have agreed that we will look at that. The traffic study is underway, and the traffic counts at 7 intersections around the site have been done, assuming the worst case conditions.
Thank you, Vicki. We move on to the next presentation. The next presentation is Evan Golden with EYA talking about the Providence development.
Good evening, everybody. I'm just going to pull up our presentation real quick. Okay. Was this the one that was working? Yeah, it's working. Okay, hi everybody, nice to see you. I'm Evan Golden from EYA. I recognize a number of you, so really nice to be back in this community. With me, you can introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Mika Gelfand-Gross. I am on the development team with them. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. So many of you know me, but I'm Executive Vice President for Acquisitions and Development at EYA, one of the owners of the company. And I've had the pleasure of working with Carmen for about 8 years now on various projects. But we've been in front of many of you over the years for our Towns of Michigan Park project. Recognize you as well, nice to see you. And then also, as you know, for our potential Providence Hospital redevelopment. So we're here tonight to give you an update. Actually, how many of you were at the ANC meeting about a month ago where we gave an update? Okay, not too many, great. So for many of you, this will be new. But essentially, we were out in the community about 2 years ago. We had about 20 or 30 community meetings to get input and feedback on the design of the Providence redevelopment. Just as a reminder, we had nothing to do with the closure of the hospital. We are not related to the owners of the hospital that happened before us. But we were chosen as a team to redevelop the hospital now that it's vacant. The medical offices will remain, but the hospital itself. A little bit about who we are, and I'm sorry this screen's a little bit blurry, but we do have a website where all of these materials are posted. So you can see the name of the website on the side. It's providencereimagined.com. And Carmen, I can email you a PDF of this as well and get you whatever information so people have the materials. But essentially, we've been in EYA has been a developer in the city for a little over 30 years. And specifically in Ward 5, I've done about 4 or 5 different neighborhoods, including the Towns of Michigan Park, Chancellor's Row, McMillan. So we have a really nice history of working with all of you, and we're happy to be here. But what we're known for, similar to what Vicki was mentioning, a lot of community outreach and engagement. And we actually use the Towns of Michigan Park as an example of a project where the community input really influenced the ultimate design of that project. So the open space surrounding the historic building, the view shed, that building is now on the historic registry, which was a request of the community. The roads cutting through that development, the playground, and park space, all the things that happened, the saving of the trees on 12th Street, all of that happened through interaction with the community and the input we got from all of you, so we appreciate that. Our partner on this project is the McKinney Group, so we don't have a representative of them here with us tonight. They couldn't make it, unfortunately, but you've probably met Natasha at some of our other meetings if you've seen us present. And they're a local Ward 5 business. They're based in Brookland, just south of the metro. They're minority-owned. Bo McKinney is an African-American gentleman who's been one of the more successful real estate developers in this part of the city and in the region. So we're really happy to have them as our partner. And they are not only one of the developers for the site, but they're also our capital partner for the redevelopment. So there will be, an African-American-led company getting the benefits of wealth creation through investment in the project. Spring update. So the basic update is this: we've been on a 2-year pause while the Office of Attorney General and SHPTA, which is the state health office, went through their review of Providence's right to sell the property and the land value associated with that sale. And that was an extremely complex process. It's not typical for the Office of Attorney General to have to review something of this scale. So usually it's on a much smaller scale. And as a result, it took a really long time. And so we appreciate all your patience. We weren't able to really share much of anything over the last 2 years, despite however many requests and questions we got. But the good news is, that's so weird. Is that the full slide? I guess so. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay. But here's where we're at, and once again, these images are on the website. This is the outline of the entire Providence campus. Everything in red is the outline. But everything in black will remain in place. So the Carroll Manor Nursing Home will remain as is. That's not going anywhere. The medical office buildings that are remaining open right now will remain open. So if you still use the medical uses within that building, if you walk in what used to be the main entrance to the hospital and go to those tenants, all of that will stay. The police and fire clinic down on Barnum Street will remain as well. The parking garage that services the medical office buildings will remain. And then there's a building all the way down at the end of Barnum Street that Providence sold directly to a local school, charter school, that's been building a new building. You've probably heard about that already. The rest of the campus, so the roughly 1 million square feet of vacant hospital, the parking lots, that's what we'll be redeveloping. And what's nice, unlike our Townhomes of Michigan Park project, where we know it was a major loss for the community when we took down open space behind the seminary, and that's a lot of what we all debated and negotiated for many years. In this case, it's almost all asphalt and existing buildings that we're redeveloping. You go to the next slide. Okay, so this is the plan we shared 2 years ago. We haven't really done much updates to the plan, but we're starting that process right now. And this was the plan we came up with after input from the community. So what you're looking at here is the medical office building that will remain in place, those tenants that are existing. 12th Street is here, Barnum Street's on the south side here. This is not us, that's the Kennedy School. They're building themselves a new school off of Buchanan and some townhomes, you're probably aware of that. But the idea is to create a grid of streets through the project, so there's multiple ways in and out, a lot of access to improve the flow of access in the area. To create a walking loop that's a half-mile long going around the block. That'll be a broad 8 to 10 foot shared use path that'll be open for the community to use. There'll be exercise equipment, there'll be benches and seating and trash cans, and that will be ideally a place that people get out and use within the community. There'll be a park along 12th Street in Barnum, across from where the playground is that we created at our last project at the Townhomes of Michigan Park. And we've been asked by our ANC and by many members of the ANC for that to be a flat park, a place where there can be, kids can throw a ball, kick a ball, play around. It's more like a field than a playground. There'll be a buffer park along the south side here, up against the neighbors to the south. There'll also be a park in this zone here that we're going to be building in conjunction with the Kennedy development. So that will be a nice big park. That will have a dog park and a playground as part of it. And then the orange buildings you're seeing, or the orange squares, would be townhomes. And in the center of the project, farthest from the existing homes, will be an apartment building. That will be an affordable building that'll have units for seniors as well as for families. And there'll be roughly 120 affordable units within that. And some of you may know, we developed the Riggs Park project just up the street just up at the corner of Riggs and South Dakota, having brain freeze. And we worked really hard with the LRCA there, but that affordable building that was just built and opened at the corner across from Walmart, that I think came out really beautifully, that was us. So we weren't the developer of it, but we got the project approved and brought in the affordable housing partner to build that. And that's some of what we've done here. Kini would be the affordable housing development partner in this case. Okay, go to the next slide. So the Office of Attorney General update is about 2 months ago, the Office of Attorney General finally came to their conclusion and approved the sale of the project with a land value of $5 million in addition to all the demolition costs. So the hospital itself will cost about $30 million or so to demolish. And that's because we have to demolish the hospital while keeping the medical office buildings operating. And the hospital, as you may know, is built all around those existing medical office tenants. They share all their utilities, they share an elevator, they share staircases. So we actually have to, in order to demolish the hospital, spend about a year building new utilities to the existing medical office building, putting in a new staircase, putting in new elevators, so that that building can function independently. And then we have to very slowly demolish the building around it without disturbing the tenants that are in that building. So that's what took 2 years for the OAG to assess the cost of, and it's obviously very complex. So that plus the $5 million is what the Office of the Attorney General declared the value of the land to be. The nice thing is, and our single member ANC, Emily Lucio, as well as other ANC members and your council member, Councilmember Parker, were heavily engaged working with the OAG to make sure that that money stayed in the community. So the $5 million that was considered the remainder land value will be put into a trust fund and used for healthcare purposes in the city. We are, and we believe that the intent of the OAG, and you can see it in the documents and their approval, is for that to be used to develop an urgent care on the property. So given the loss of the emergency room services at Providence, there's been a desire from many community members, including I'm sure many of you, to have an urgent care back on the property. I know Emily's been fighting really hard for that, and we are supportive of that as well. So that $5 million subsidy will help an urgent care provider come back to the site, and we are putting a preference on urgent care providers that will provide the full spectrum of care from children as well as geriatric care, as well as regular visits for urgent care. We have 2 parties interested in already being that urgent care provider. We're doing a request for proposals over the summer, and we hope by the fall to have a specific partner that we can put in front of you, and you'll know who that is going to be, and they would go through the planned unit development process with us to get their approval. So anyway, so something that you should all stay aware of. We'll make sure we're communicating with all your community leaders to make sure that money stays in the community and that it doesn't somehow go to another part of the city. You can tell the mayor that. Anyway, so the OAG did approve the deal. The next step was that SHPTA, which is the state health office, they also needed to approve the deal. And that took about a month. They approved it last week, which was great news, so we really appreciate their work. So with SHPTA and OAG now behind us, we can finally start the PUD process again. So you'll start seeing us over the next 3 to 4 months. This is obviously one of our first community meetings, but our idea would be to have some online meetings, to do in-person meetings as we're invited. And if anyone wants to meet with us for coffee or learn more about the project, we're happy to do that as well. Our website will then start getting updated with new imagery so you can follow the design. And then our goal is to submit a planned unit development application to the city this fall and try to get through the zoning commission process relatively quickly, since we've been at this for 5 years already. What's nice is some of the other benefits of the project. Unlike the city's requirement of 10% affordable, we've already agreed to 20% of the units being affordable in this project, and most likely it will be higher than that. So the current plan we're looking at will be even higher than that, which is great. And as you saw, a lot of parks and open spaces that will be open to the general community to share. And then we will work on a community benefits agreement, which will do things specific for the community, whether it's scholarships like we saw tonight and other public benefits. When we did the Towns of Michigan Park, we had a tax fund for existing residents who were concerned about gentrification. So if you were on a fixed income, you could apply for a grant to help you defray your taxes for a number of years. And so there are public benefits that will come to this project as well. You can go to the next slide. You know what? I've spoken about almost all of this at this point, but this is the community feedback that we logged from our meetings 2 years ago. As I said, this is all on the website, so feel free to read through it again. But the next slide is how we've started to take some of these ideas into account. So we are drafting a hiring and outreach plan so that we're making sure that we're reaching out to local companies that want to work on the construction side within the project. Councilmember Parker has been really helpful in that regard. And he's going to help us make sure that we're communicating and getting the word out as we're doing bidding for the project. So that's part of it. We shifted the active park space. Our original park space was right along Barnum and the residence across the street, which is not in this ANC, but in the ANC to the south up here in 4B, is it, I think? What's south of Barnum?
5B, I think that's 5B.
5B, okay, sorry. So they were concerned about noise right across from their houses, so we shifted the park further up to where there aren't single-family homes. We redesigned the northeast part of the site. The residents that are on Allison Street, Allison and 12th Streets are on 12th Street, just west of Allison. They wanted to make sure that they had buffer behind their homes, so we've created some park spaces behind their houses, which you'll see in a moment. We moved the multifamily building further into the site, so it's not directly across from any existing residential units. We were asked not to include hardscape courts, so at one point we had kind of pickleball and things of that sort, and many community members didn't want the noise that came from that. They'd rather a passive field space and playgrounds and things that could be used by the community without creating a lot of noise impacts. The urgent care we already talked about, and then we did reduce. We originally had more units in our original proposal. We are a little bit lower than we were because we have less multifamily units and more homes in our latest plan. Can we go to the next slide? Actually, let's skip this. Oh, you know what? Hold on. This is the wrong presentation. I want to share some of the park stuff with you. It's everything you've seen so far is correct, but I realize now that I was not sharing the most fun part. What's today's date? It's the 25th. Huh, I thought I saved it in here. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me pull it up. It's just going to take a second. The fun part is what I really wanted to share. Come on. Apologize for this. There we go. Okay, connected to the internet. So you're getting to see all of how I file stuff. This is very interesting, I'm sure, for all of you. Sorry. Okay, community meeting, there we go. Oh, I forgot to save it in my hard drive, sorry about that. So you were seeing a slightly older version. Oh yes, just go to window presentation. Cool, okay, then this slide go all the way to the park stuff. Actually, yeah, so what I hope to share, and I'll now sum it up more quickly, when Providence selected us to be the developer of the site, some of the things that they were most focused on, they knew that the community was pretty angry when the hospital closed, and so they asked as part of our submission to focus on things we could do for seniors in the community, things we could do related to health and wellness, and things we can do related to affordable housing. So those are some of the things we've taken into account as we come up with our plan. So the fact that Carroll Manor is staying, the fact that the medical office tenants that largely serve an older population, those existing buildings will remain on site. The walking loop that we're creating for outdoor fitness, the fact that there'll be senior affordable units in the affordable building, all of that is targeted towards seniors and senior care. The next slide looks at housing crisis issues. So Providence is a large property, you know that it's a fairly large scale development. So one of the nice things is it creates an opportunity to really target affordable housing in a way. So the city's goal is for every neighborhood to have about 15% of their units as affordable units. Today, the Michigan Park, North Michigan Park area, I believe it's at 2% of the neighborhood is restricted affordable units. And that's because they're mostly single family homes or duplexes. There's very few rental affordable units, and there's almost no for sale affordable units other than the ones we built at the project across the street where the seminary is. So because of the scale of the project, just by the nature of building 20%, potentially more affordable housing, by the end of this project, your neighborhood in total will be around 15% affordable. And so that's a huge benefit. It allows people to stay in the community. It allows your kids or grandkids to come back to the community if they want to live in this neighborhood and they still want to be a teacher, earning, unfortunately, a salary that doesn't allow you to buy a house. So that's one of the nice benefits. In the next slide, we were asked a number of questions 2 years ago, what does affordable housing mean? And we just wanted to highlight what this is. And as I said, this is on our website. These are the salary ranges and the jobs. I'll read this so you can, it's hard for some people in the back to read, that mean affordable housing. So for example, in the city, for sale units, you're supposed to sell them at 80% of the median income of the city. And that's an employee or a person, a household making about $113,000, which is, even at that level, as you know, it's hard to buy a house in the city. And so a police officer earns about 80% of AMI. They're at about $60,000 as an individual. A public school teacher is about $68,000. That's at 80% AMI, so they'd be eligible to buy a house. Firefighters, nurses are about $52,000, so that's about 60% of AMI. When you get down, and so the rental units will be available for people ranging from 30 to 60% AMI. The for sale houses will be at 80% AMI, so it'll be both for sale and for rent affordable units. And then you get into EMTs, they emergency technicians, they're about $40,000 a year. So you might need to have, a family with 2 people working in order to afford an affordable house. In that case, delivery truck drivers are about $43,000. That's 50% of AMI. So the target range that the city's trying to target with the affordable housing plan are people who are working really hard at jobs that we really need in the city, whether it's a social worker, or a nurse, a teacher, a firefighter, a police person, and they can't afford to live in the city. And that's what this project tries to deliver. You go to the next slide. Okay, parks, fun stuff. So we're going to focus on 4 specific parks on the development. So one that we're doing in concert with the Kennedy redevelopment here. The second one is the biggest one down on Varnum and 12th Street. And then the 2 pocket parks that we worked with the neighbors on 12th Street to design as a buffer against their houses. So go to the next slide. Park A, so this is a linear park. And at the background image of the buildings is not showing up particularly well, but this is Allison Street continued past 12th Street. This park ends up being over a half acre. It's a pretty big space. What we've designed so far is kind of an undulating walkway that creates a dog park zone here that has a small and large dog park zone within it that's gated, and then a big playground here. And the concept is that playground will take some pressure off of the playground that we built at 12th and Varnum that's been very well used by the community. So there'll now be 2 playgrounds within walking distance of each other. And this is about the same size as the one that we built at 12th and Varnum to give you a sense of scale. And then kind of a general seating area for gathering here, and just some open space. There'll be butterfly gardens, general planting, seating. So this will be a publicly accessible park for the community, not just for the residents of this new neighborhood. The second park space, this is some imagery of what that might look like. The second space is the biggest one. So we were asked by the residents south of Varnum to create a nice buffer between them and the new development. And so what we agreed to is based on where the hospital building essentially sits today, that's where we've kept our new development. This building today is about 9 stories where the hospital is there. It's 90 feet tall. So what we're building is much shorter. These are about 4 stories. But we've created a linear park along all of Varnum Street and then the field on 12th Street. What you're seeing here, kind of one of the parts I'm most excited about, is a track for kids to learn how to bike. So there'll be kind of little hills and obstacles, and kids who want to learn how to use a scooter or ride a bike for the first time, they'll have a place to do that safely. And then what you're seeing here is that shared use path in orange. That's that half-mile walking track going around the entire circle. Next slide. This is some images of what that might look like. The next slide is, and then the pocket parks, which are up on Buchanan Street behind those existing homes, we were asked to keep those as contemplative, kind of quiet spaces. So, bird houses, butterfly gardens, seating, but not really active, loud spaces. And so you can see some of the imagery that we shared with that community. You go to the next slide. And then also some tree preservation zones. Sorry, go back 1 slide. So there's 2 gorgeous, really big trees. Our site does not have a lot of trees, but as you come in on Allison Street, entering the hospital, on the right, there are these 2 beautiful old trees. So we've kind of centered this park around those 2 trees that we'll be preserving, and we'll keep that as a passive open space for the community. And then the next slide, that's just some images of what that might look like. So lastly, for context, this is the slide we shared at the ANC last month just to give you a sense of everything going on in this area. So this is the project that we built already, the Towns of Michigan Park. D is the hospital site that we're building. So from a timing perspective, the Kennedy School A is already under construction. B is the Mundo Verde School, that is demolished and they're about to start construction. Those will both be done before we ever start. The townhomes here, which are starting right after the school is built, so that's what's funding the new school for the Kennedy Center, or Kennedy School. Those will likely be done before we start as well. It's going to take us about a year and a half to get to a place where we can even start demolition of the existing building. It'll take about a year to demolish the building. So we won't be starting new construction or development here for about 2.5 to 3 years. So we're a little ways out, and that'll allow time for this other development to happen. And that's it. We, as next steps, so we will, as I said, we're shockingly 5 years in, very early in this process. So once we have more to share, we'll come back with better imagery to share, more details, architecture, more details and blow-ups of the park spaces, as well as traffic concerns and cut-through traffic, which we've been asked about, parking, all those things that we've been asked about, we'll come back and share with the community. And so that's it. I'm sorry it took so long.
Not a problem. I'm sure we're all the time. Let me ask my question first.
Yeah, you go.
Okay, can you put your diagram?
Yeah, the plan.
The last one, whatever,
Yeah.
next, the building next to where the Kennedy Institute School is going, there's a building on Buchanan Street.
Yeah, that's empty.
What's going of it?
So that will be demolished. Those will end up being, that's this space right here. So that was a drug rehab clinic in the past. It's been vacant for, 5 years probably. So that will get torn down. That block will be a mixture of townhomes and park spaces. So those 2 park spaces are within that. And we can do, at some point, now that the weather's nice, we can do a walking tour and actually give you a sense for where the spaces are. But if you go out there into the parking, well, it's gated, but if you look in from Buchanan, where the building sits right here today, you can actually see it outlined here. So that park space, you can actually visualize that park space if we were out there together.
So I'm gonna turn around now. I'm gonna get you last. Okay, Mr. Wheatley?
Yeah, okay, so with the Kennedy School included, do you know what the total acreage is for all of those developments? For that
Yeah, about so the Kennedy School is 8 acres. That's not controlled by us. That's the site behind us. And then our development is about 25 acres. So it's about 33 acres in total.
And so how does that compare to the McMillan site that you're developing?
I don't know the answer to that, but I can get it from you. McMillan was my partner's project, so I wasn't as heavily involved in that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Bill, you have to hand up? Bill?
I have 2 questions. The first one, so you all are supposed to be returning to ANC 5A later this month with, I thought you said updated concept plan renderings. Is this essentially what you're sharing, or will you actually have more defined plans?
My gut is we probably won't be back at ANC 5A this month just because it took a little long for SHPTA to get to their approval, so we haven't started the redesign process yet. So now we're formally that just happened last week, so we're now formally kicking off the redesign process, so it'll be a little bit longer. What we'll end up likely having to do is our own general community meetings throughout the summer, and then when everybody kicks back in, the ANC as well as civic associations will come meet again.
Okay, and my second question is just, residents have asked me, who's driving the bus regarding the community benefits? Is that being driven through Commissioner Lucio, or?
It would be the ANC, yeah. Okay. So we'll come up with a draft community benefits package of typically is about a 5 to 6 page document based on what we did both with the LRCA at Riggs in South Dakota as well as Towns Michigan Park and propose that to the ANC, and then they'll give us feedback and input.
But people can share ideas.
Totally. And yeah, share them with us too. I mean, there's no community benefits that have been baked yet. We've thrown out some ideas, but if there's great ideas, share them, please.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening. Can you tell me who are the 2 prospective urgent care providers?
I cannot tell you that yet, but if you can wait about 60 days, we hope to be able to share that.
And lastly, why only 2 prospective urgent care providers?
Oh, great question.
Expand that consideration.
2 have reached out to us without being solicited, and we've met with them. we are doing it, we're gonna submit what's called an RFQ, a request for qualifications, to all of the urgent care providers in the city who are pre-approved. And then we expect, hopefully, to get more than those 2 interested. But it may be that at least now we have 2 that are already interested, which is really great. But yeah, that we'll run a process to make sure that anyone who's interested in running into urgent care that's a really good provider will have an opportunity to be that provider.
Thank you.
And if anyone knows or has contacts at urgent care providers in the city, please send them to us.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Good to see you.
2 things, 3 little ones fast. When we did the project on 12th Street here, we gave you a connector for a subcontractor. My daughter was interested.
Yeah.
I must have called her 10 times and nobody responded. Okay? Now, second, here at Sergeant Road across Walmart, what type of commercial businesses do you have scheduled to come into the down lower level?
Let me get back to you with that. So that's our partner, True Ground, is the developer of that affordable building. So I'm not sure what their plan is on the ground floor.
Last one. Now, there were concerns that I heard some time ago about asbestos in the hospital there.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get information that, is that portion that you're gonna tear down and get rid of the asbestos?
Yeah.
And how long has that asbestos been in that hospital? Do we have any idea?
Yeah, so the hospital was built in the 1950s, I believe. There is asbestos in the existing building, so not surprisingly, most buildings built before 1980 have asbestos in them for to cover pipes and other things for insulation, so as well as tiles, things like that. So yeah, so we've done an environmental assessment of the hospital that has indicated that there is asbestos. There's less asbestos than we thought because the hospital was renovated in the 80s, some parts of it, not all of it, some of it. So that's good. As part of our redevelopment, we're gonna have to go through an environmental review with the city. They're gonna have to approve our abatement plan, which abatement is when we essentially remove all the environmental hazards in the building. So before we can demolish the building, we have to go in there. You'll see men and women in white spacesuits, fully covered. You'll see the windows covered up. They'll go in and take out all of the asbestos so that when they start demolishing, there's no particulates from the asbestos that get put out into the air. Yeah, no. Yeah, no, totally. So that will be, everything we do will have to be reviewed and approved by the city from an environmental perspective before we can move forward.
Good evening, Evan.
Good evening.
My question is regarding the dog park. Will it be, I think it will be built by you all, private sector? Will it be maintained by the district government, or will it be maintained by you all, who and then transferred to an HOA?
Great question. So the intent right now, because we don't think the city is going to be willing to take on the budget dollars associated with the park, is that we would build it, our HOA would maintain it, very similar to the playground on 12th and Varnum that we built. There will be a public access easement on it, so the HOA can't decide to close it off or not let people use it who aren't from the community. But the HOA would have the money as part of their budget to maintain it.
With that said, you all have a lot of programming for park space.
Yeah.
Is that going to be the HOA that's going to maintain it, or the citizens?
The HOA. So we've been asked this question to the extent, and we're happy to, when we submit, to start working with the city to see if they'd be willing to take the most public park, the one on Varnum and 12th, it's more of a field. We would love for the city to take it, but we don't think, everything we've heard in the last number of years is that the city, because of budget constraints, is not looking to take more park space on, so we would budget that as part of our HOA. But yeah, to the extent the city wants to take it, that's great. The one negative of that is, and while I'm a DC resident of Adams Morgan, I love the city, but sometimes the private sector is better at maintaining park spaces than the city is, so you get mowing more often, you get more trash cleaning. So there's kind of, the sword kind of cuts both ways. Sorry. Oh my God. But the park stuff is working really well. I mean, the truth is, look, the city's under attack right now. We all know this, right? Our budgets are under attack. So, you know, the nice thing about an HOA is you have the money to do it. But if the city wants a 1 acre, really nice park space with a field right at 12th and Varnum, we would love for you guys to have it.
Good evening. I remember at one of your meetings, you were at the Birdie Baptist sometime back, that you said once this project was finished, that this would be and you close, kind of thing that at night,
No,
close up?
no, definitely not. So UIA, as a history as a company, we've never once built a gated community. We don't believe in that. Like our neighborhoods, we want them to feel like they're part of the existing neighborhoods, so there won't be any gates. The only things that would close at night would be the park spaces. So we'd have signage that, when it gets dark, the dog parks and playgrounds and everything are, intended to be closed at that point.
Thank you. You brought up the city is in its own way kind of under attack or under threat, and we have so many residents, former federal workers, contractors, or grantees, all kind of figuring out what happens. How does that impact, looking how, this has taken 5 years just to get to this point because of all of the ways that life lifed over the past 5 years, and the city and rules. How does the city's uncertain future impact the planning and the contingency planning for you as the developer of this project that, should have been further along at this point, and who knows what else is gonna happen? Who all is buying these several hundreds of, I think between this and the previous one, we're looking at 200 or 300 more units.
So I love this question for a whole host of reasons. So we are lucky enough to be, we are the most prolific town developer in the DC close-in region. Now, if you don't count the far suburbs. So we have the most experience, but we also have 7 projects right now for sale all throughout the region. So we have real data. Our McMillan project is one of our best-selling projects in the whole region. So despite everything that's going on, we're still selling, 1 to 2 houses a week there, which is above what we expect in that place, which is phenomenal. And they're decent sales prices. The houses there are pretty expensive. So the reason, there's a few things going on. We're probably 40,000 housing units short in the city because we haven't built enough over the last 3 decades. So there is so much pent-up demand for housing here that we know that the demand is there. And then the question is, well, the supply has not kept up, so we need to make that supply correction. We believe in the city. This is a horrible crisis we're going through right now that's kind of unnecessary in so many ways, right? We're killing our own economy for sport. Not we, but the federal government. So I think when we look out from an economic perspective, looking at the future, the region, a little bit of a correction is not a bad thing. House prices have been so crazy high because of the demand issues, so a slight correction in that is not a horrible thing, as long as it doesn't drop dramatically. We now have a whole bunch of employees who are really intelligent. A lot of them are very well trained, and our assumption and hope is that private sector talent starts hiring some of these folks throughout the region. We've started to see it. And somebody else mentioned that, I think it was the director, Hunter mentioned that you've seen all these applications coming in from federal employees. We saw the same thing for an association that I'm involved in, where we had 80 applications from federal employees, really good, high-quality people. So we have a lot of talent in this region, and that's what's kept us going. We've started diversifying our economy over the last 20 years, so we do have technology, we do have healthcare, we do have quite a bit of computer science going on, and even in the latest budget, ridiculous as it is, not mayor's budget, even in that budget, if you look at it, right, the one thing they increased was defense spending, which means more spending in the DC region, it means more contractors. So the nice thing about this is we're not selling a house here for 3 years. Hopefully we'll be in a different administration by the time we're really selling most of these homes. At a minimum, hopefully there'll be a different Congress, and so we can start getting at least some balance. And with that, I think this city has always had what makes regions great. It's got great walkability, it's got a great, diverse, highly educated community. It's got people who are passionate about culture, it has amazing culture, it's got the river, it's got the mountains. So this city is going to be successful. We're going to survive through this. We've survived through worse. But it's going to be a few years of pain, and hopefully we'll get back on track and be even better than we were before. Thanks to the mayor. I'm a huge supporter of Mayor Bowser.
With the 10 to 20% affordable housing,
20% or more.
Or more.
Yeah.
How will it be integrated into the project? Will it be very similar to like a former Hope 6 projects?
No. So the townhomes will be mixed throughout. So you'll have, on any, you won't know which, if you go to our Town of Michigan Park project, those affordable units are mixed throughout as well, so you probably don't even know which houses are affordable and which aren't. We would do the same here, so the houses would be mixed throughout. The affordable building itself will be 100% affordable, but within it will have a range of incomes from 30% all the way up to 65-ish% within it.
My last question.
Yeah.
So, how many will you have any 4-bedroom homes?
Yeah.
So what percentage or how many? I'm just curious, the demand for 4
Probably half and half, probably about half 3-bedroom and about half 4-bedroom. So probably about half and half of the town. Oh, sorry, how many? So there's going to be about 250-ish townhomes, about half 4-bedroom, about a half 3-bedroom.
Do you see a big market for that?
Oh yeah, we saw it at the Towns of Michigan Park. Our 4-bedroom units were more popular than our 3-bedroom units.
Thank you so much. My question is, I'm Commissioner Austin.
I know, I remember.
Yeah.
I was going to ask how your daughter's.
Yeah, good to see you again. My question is, the last time we talked, you had a lot of equipment that was still left in the hospital.
Oh yeah, no.
Okay, so I've been doing some research, and I did work on that project when they got the open MRI. We paid $700,000 for that.
Yep.
So that is still there.
I've got an answer for you. Ready?
Wait a minute, I got an answer too. I talked to Children's Hospital, they're in need of it, and I've also talked to Howard University, hospital, where most of all of the doctors relocated at Howard.
Yep.
And they're in need of it.
Yeah.
So I would not like you to give it to some nonprofit organization when the hospital themselves need it.
Yeah, so I'm going to answer your question exactly how you're going to want to hear it. So, since our last meeting, we were told by Providence that they do have deals with 2 local hospitals in the city for that equipment to be to go to those hospitals. I can't name the hospitals yet, but yeah, you'll be happy.
Okay, but is that a final deal? Can these other hospitals be added to it? You've already made a decision.
Let me talk to you after. I don't want to say it publicly, but let's talk.
Okay, because I didn't want them to have consideration.
You got it.
Thank you so much. Any more questions?
Thank you, Carmen. Thanks, everybody.
Director Hunter would like to impart some final information for us.
In combat, anything.
I want to object to I think your time is well spent. Anytime I have an opportunity to present in a community forum and then follow-up questions, I like to answer in real time if I can. So we talked about resources for displaced federal workers. I don't want to take for granted that everyone knows about fedsupport.dc.gov. Again, that's fedsupport.dc.gov. It's a one-stop shop for residents that have been displaced to apply for unemployment insurance, to obtain health insurance, to obtain foreclosure assistance, to learn about resources for student loan help, and also to seek mental health support and other resources as well. Before this site, you have to go to DISB or DCHR or the OES. So again, fedsupport.dc.gov. And also I text the Director of the Office on Aging. I don't know if the senior veteran is still with us, and she wanted me to share that the mayor's budget invests in Connected Card, Safe at Home program. I gotta forget, my parents are 85 and 80. We use Safe at Home to build a wheelchair ramp for my 85-year-old father to apply like everyone else. So it preserves that, and also the home delivery program. And then I think there was a question about the senior homestead. The mayor's budget supports that seniors can receive up to 50% off property taxes in addition to their the additional homestead. And there's $300,000 for a Safe at Home program, as I discussed. And Director Hines specifically wanted me to give this number. If you know of seniors that have questions about any of these programs, that number is 202-724-5626. Again, that's the Department on Aging and Community Living, and that number is 202-724-5626. And also, I know the lady who's interested in entrepreneurship has left, but if you go to denpet.dc.gov, there is an FY25 business grant portal and all sorts of great grant opportunities. Some actually still open. A number of them are still open for resources. So thank you. Again, I'll be here with Alan and John Stokes to answer any of the questions you have.
So that was a great information from all parties that presented tonight. And I want to thank all of you. Thank you, Director Hunter. That was wonderful. That was wonderful. And Ms. Davis, evening. We're going to close up shop. We're going to go ahead and adjourn. So if you'd like to pray us out. So look, small group now. Lord, thank you for the great opportunity you gave us in this meeting to receive good information about this community and to have the opportunity to ask questions about the information we received. We ask that you continue to assist us in gaining information, gaining understanding as to what is going on in the community so that we can have a better community as we continue to get. We thank you for blessing the meeting and for blessing each of us in all that we do. And we just ask for a safe passage to our homes after this meeting. All of us in the name of the Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Very simple.